Alright, it's time to talk about pelvic tilts. So improving awareness and coordination around your pelvis posture is so important for all the future exercises you're going to be doing, like deadlifts, squats, lunges, any sort of glute activation, abdominal activation. You got to have this pelvic awareness and coordination around the pelvis. So make sure you treat this exercise with intention and focus and lock in all those little muscles. And if you're shaking at all, that's just a weak connection. Push through that, slowly make the connection smoother, and now it's time to go over all the little details of this move.
Okay, so this exercise is now understanding how your pelvis moves. That's the goal of this exercise. The goal of this exercise is understanding how your pelvis moves. And so we're going to be taking our pelvis, this is our pelvis region, this is our pelvis bone. We're going to be taking it through anterior tilts and posterior tilts, and also anterior tilts with a hip hike, and then also a posterior tilt with a hip hike as well. Okay, so what I want you to do is lay down on the floor, and in this posture, bring your feet in so that they're in a comfortable position. And what I want you to do is create your abdominal brace like we did in the abdominal bracing exercise. So you can't get in under your ribs. Your abs are braced as if someone's going to punch you, and you're in a neutral position here through your spine. You're not twisted. Okay, so in this posture, what I want you to do is take your pelvis, and while maintaining your brace, this is very important. We have to maintain that first layer of bracing. So bracing is on. And we're going to take our pelvis, my hands represent my pelvis, and I want you to arch your lower back. So this is an anterior tilt. And I've still maintained my brace. My abs are still rock solid. I can't get in under my ribs. All right, from here, I want you to go back into a posterior tilt. So now I'm tilting my pelvis into the posterior position, where I'm tilting back so that my lower back is flat on the floor. So now I'm just going to go through that movement over and over again while maintaining my abdominal brace. So here I'm going anterior, here I'm going posterior, here I'm going anterior, here I'm going posterior. While you're doing this exercise, I want your hands on your bottom ribs and your top abdominals so you can feel if your abs turn on or turn off or where they're at. So I want them on the whole time. So again, I want you keeping your hands here and going through the anterior tilt and the posterior tilt. Memorize those terms because I'll be using those terms from now on. And I want you to pair your breathing mechanics with the movement. So I want you to breathe in while you go anterior and breathe out while you go posterior. And that'll sound like this. Do that until you're confident with that, like you've locked it in. And then I want you to reverse the breathing. So now I'm going to breathe out while I go into an anterior tilt, and then I'm going to breathe in while I go posterior. So here's what that sounds like. So that whole movement sequence there, my abdominal brace was engaged while I was moving my pelvis. So crucial to have that locked in because when you're squatting, when you're deadlifting, when you're lunging, when you're bench pressing, when you're doing push-ups, you have to have control of your pelvis and your bracing. Those positions matter in the future. So you got to lock it in now in this easy posture before you make things harder in the future. Okay, so the next thing I want you to do is go into a full anterior tilt. And then what we're going to be doing is a hip hike to the left and then a hip hike to the right. So I'm hip hiking to the left, hip hiking to the right without losing my abdominal brace. And again, I'll have you pair it with breathing. So you can breathe in to the left. And once you have that position and posture and breathing locked in, reverse the breathing. So now I'm breathing into my right. Okay, I'm feeling fairly confident with that now. And now I'm going to go fully posterior, complete fully posterior tuck here. My lower back is fully on the floor. And now again, I'm going to hip hike to the left. I'm going to breathe in when I hip hike to the left. And then I'm going to reverse the breathing. Now I'm going to breathe out to my left. Okay, so now I've locked in the breathing both ways. I've gone posterior with hip hikes. I've gone anterior with hip hikes. Now here's a bonus exercise for you. Putting it all together. You should be able to do a pelvic hip circle here. So breathing doesn't, where you breathe here doesn't matter as long as you're breathing correctly and bracing correctly. So I'm going to create my brace and you're going to see me create a hip circle here. So here we go. And then reverse the direction. Once you're confident going one way, slowly reverse the direction. And that's another concept that I want you to understand with this move. Slow is so much better than fast. When you're developing coordination and body awareness and muscle connections, going slow here is what's going to help you create the correct connections. Now, if there's a little bit of shaking or moving like that, that's a weak connection. So don't be afraid of that shaking. Just keep performing the movement until you've smoothed that out. You're trying to make these connections to your muscles stronger. And that's the point of this exercise. I'm trying to identify your weak areas. Imagine being weak in and around your core when you're squatting 200 pounds. That is not good for the body. So this is helping you build stronger connections. So again, create that smooth, slow movement pattern with good breathing and bracing mechanics. And right here, I'm just focused on painting a big circle with my tailbone. That's my little cue that I use to go through this pelvic circle as best I can. Okay, so that's understanding the pelvis there and how it moves. It goes into an end. This is an anterior tilt, this is a posterior tilt, then there's hip hiking, and then there's the pelvic circle. So master that movement pattern through your pelvic region, and again, your lunging, your squatting, your deadlifting is going to be so much better because of that. Okay, you'll be a stronger, safer lifter for the rest of your life when you master your pelvis and your core. Good luck, have fun.